Imagine this. You have two essays, two college essays, both about basically the same topic. One is this unforgettable, iconic essay, and one is just an okay, run-of-the-mill standard essay. If you took those two essays, showed them to 1,000 people, and asked them which of these two essays is better, 100% of them are going to pick the excellent essay. It's very easy to see which essay is incredible, which essay is iconic, which essay is unforgettable, and which essay is just honestly not that good. It's easy to see, but it can be hard to describe and even harder to do. Now, having worked with hundreds of students, gone through thousands of essays, to me, I believe that what makes an essay great is that it has something in it that's unexpected. And that unexpected element shows cleverness, it shows ingenuity, it shows a fresh perspective, and that's what elite colleges are looking for. So, how do we get there? Well, first, we have to think about the emotions of it. Most of the time, it's very difficult to write an unexpected college essay. And here's why. You think to yourself, there's so much at stake here. This is so important. And what do we do when something's very important? When we have all that fear and that anxiety that's kind of normal in this process? When you have that situation, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you want to play it safe. We all want to play it safe when there's a lot of anxiety involved, when there's a lot at stake. We want to play it safe, and that's exactly the wrong thing to do. If you play it safe, your essay is going to be expected, tedious, and boring. You're going to end up with an essay that maybe you think is like the right thing to do, but is the expected and boring thing to do. Maybe your essay will be, how you didn't know too much about poverty, and then you went to the third world, and then you saw some poverty, and now you know about poverty. Now that essay, I see that essay about 30 or 40 times a year. The Harvard Admissions Committee probably sees that essay about 5 or 10,000 times a year. Writing that essay is a guaranteed way to make sure that you don't stand out, that you seem like an unoriginal thinker, just boring, ordinary like everybody else. So learning to think unexpectedly it's tricky. It's not an easy thing to do because most people think in the way that most people think. So we're going to have you go through a lot of essays that are going to teach you how to think unexpectedly. For example, we're going to have some exercise where we take common sayings, you're going to reverse them around, come up with some new, different saying, and explain that new saying. And that's going to show you one unexpected way of looking at things. We're going to have you take two things that are very, very different, find similarities between them, and those similarities, those unexpected similarities, are going to show you an unexpected way to look at similarities and differences. We're going to take two similar things and have you find differences, unexpected differences between two similar or nearly identical things. And in each of these areas, the goal is to show you how to think unexpectedly. Now, you might say, wait a second, there's not a lot of writing involved here. I thought it was going to be, I'd write an essay and then you critique it and then write another essay. And well, as it turns out, that really doesn't work very well because that process just leads to more and more expected essays. You already know enough writing. This is not a writing issue. It's not that you can't write a one-page paper. That's not the thing here. It's that your whole life you've been taught to write expectedly and to think expectedly and behave expectedly. And here you have this new task of writing something unexpected. And that's not a writing thing. That's not really about writing at all. It's about thinking. It's about thinking in a way that's different from how you usually think. And if you can find ways to think differently, well, then all you need to do is write it down, and that part is kind of the easy part. Now, parents, this is going to be scarier for you than it is for your kids. Kids are teenagers, and teenagers, fortunately for us in this situation, tend to be a little bit reckless. Adults, we tend to play it safe. Your instincts, and I'm going to try to say this politely, but your instincts are going to 100% of the time be as wrong as humanly possible. They're going to be the wrongest instincts you can have. And that's not anything bad about you. That's because you are a sane and rational adult. You do things that make sense. You do the expected things because that's the non-insanely risky thing. When you go to the supermarket and buy something, you buy what you normally buy because you're not trying to create something unexpected. You're trying to create something reliable. Your job as an adult, as a parent, is to be sane, reliable, constant. And so your instincts here are not going to help too much. Your job, your skill set isn't really going to be the right thing for this. For this, you need that reckless, crazy thinking. You need that teenager style thinking. So when you see in the essay something that you're like, whoa, that's totally not what you normally write in that situation, that's actually good. Now, of course, we're going to go through it and make sure that nothing's coming across as, unsettling or weird or sociopathic in a bad way. We're going to obviously check through that. Don't worry. We're not going to let that essay go out looking crazy. But we do want to come up with something unique, something interesting, something that the last thing you would expect to see. I'm not saying we want something offensive. We don't want something offensive. But we want something that's unexpected. So whatever the expected thing to do is, whatever the natural instinct is, that thing is going to be basically totally wrong. We're not looking for that kind of cutesy stuff that you would see in Aesop's Fables over here. We're looking for just a totally fresh and different thing. Remember, the people who are reading this essay, they're about 23 years old. They're just a few years older, and they just graduated from the college you're applying to. So, for example, if you apply to Harvard, the person reading your essay is going to be a 22, 23-year-old recent Harvard graduate. So it's not like you're trying to appeal to somebody's great-grandmother over here. Learning to write unexpectedly comes from learning to think unexpectedly. It's going to be very difficult, and the first entire phase of this program is going to be about thinking, not really about writing. So in fact, I'm going to go ahead and fix this, if you don't mind. And that's the program that really works. That's the program that you're in, and that's the program that's going to get you the results that you want. Now let's go ahead and get started, keeping in mind that all you need to do is learn how to think unexpectedly. Later on, you can learn how to write it down, which is not very difficult, and you're going to have an unforgettable, iconic college essay.